Good afternoon. It's Thursday, the 6th of August. So today I'm just going to sort of just give some higher time frame thoughts, really, because the low time frame is not very interesting, right? We are just trading sideways in a very tight range intraday. The rotations, you're kind of getting, potentially one actionable setup in a New York session, and then not a great deal is happening. But for the time being, we are still trading up. I think, we've obviously failed to break below the 4-week composite low that held as support. So unless we get a failure, say at 65k, I'm going to assume that we continue to trade up into this imbalance, and that this region around sort of 68 to 69k is where I'm mostly interested in potentially looking for a swing short from. We do have the 100-day moving average in this area. It sits at 68k at the moment. So I'm looking for prices to just come and trade into that region, essentially, potentially deviating this 90-day VWAP, but looking to get a test of this big gap that we have somewhere between sort of 68 and 69k, where that 2.5 month point of control sits. Now, I don't think we're going to necessarily trade any higher than that, so I will be looking for shorts if we can trade above say this 67,500 high just here into this gap. This is the reason I'm interested in taking shorts from. But from a sort of medium time frame perspective, still holding the long I took on Monday from 62,600 or 62,800. I think my entry is. I'm looking to trade that up into these highs, right? I'm looking for these sort of highs to get taken out. But this could take a while, right? We are just in this very low volatility period, and I think this can continue for longer. So my sort of basic high time frame plan is to trade this up right into this kind of area, look for a short up here somewhere, and then potentially look to swing that in towards this region around this naked value low from Q3 2024, taking out our previous lows. And then this is really where I think we just enter a period where you just want to be buying spot. So for now, there's not really a great deal to do. Intraday, as I say, I think you're getting sort of one setup a day on an intraday basis. So I'm sort of swinging this. It's sort of kind of mental illness holding this trade, but my plan is my plan. Looking to trade into this area, and then I'll be looking for swing shorts from here. If I just come and zoom in a bit more. Right, so we are getting nicely compressed now in terms of these VWAPs. So, a move is probably getting closer, right? Well, it's certainly not getting further away. But the fact that the 90-day is coming so close to price now suggests to me that we are seeing this trend compression, which is likely to elicit, a move in the not too distant future. And I think anything above 67,500 in this imbalance is likely to be where we are looking to take swing shorts from. And that's really about it, right? So not a great deal else to say. I think if we just look at long-term VWAPs, we're sort of neutral to bullish on all our sort of long-term VWAPs for the time being, given that we are trading imbalanced up on the developing week, trying to hold above previous week's value high. Monthly is rotational, quarterly is rotational, we're rotation within the previous quarter's value. I don't think that we're necessarily going to trade as high as the previous quarter and yearly VWAP, but I do think that this imbalance is fair game. So the VWAP picture is not particularly useful right now. All it's really telling me is that we're neutral, and I don't really have any sort of particularly meaningful levels to work from, assuming that we're going to trade above 65k and smash through that level, into this imbalance. There's not really anything particularly meaningful here. So yeah, that's pretty much it, right? There's not really a great deal else to say. I think there are probably better intra-week opportunities elsewhere, i.e. other than BTC. And it's probably, just about being patient and waiting for those if you want to trade anything right now, right? So I think, Hype today or overnight offered a decent short. We traded into this composite low. I said that, maybe it's not time to take it yet. We obviously swept that high last night. That was a good opportunity to get into that trade. Traded down to previous week's VWAP, more or less taking out this low. So I was out that trade there, I'm not in a long here. I think there's probably a good shorting opportunity. Should we trade into this area around yearly value high and fail, somewhere around 59 to 60, as I said yesterday, I think it's probably going to be an ideal short for Hype. So if we can come up and trade into that area, I'll be looking to take that. Lit, a bit of an outlier in terms of strength at the moment. Maybe a short around 233, but this could also trade up higher again. So this is actually looking quite good, and I think this was a decent long here today. Pump, I still think this is a decent looking chart in terms of the local uptrend. Holding this imbalance, I'd potentially be looking for that to trade up to that 9-day composite high. Is there a really clear setup here? Not really, no. So for now, just holding spot and having some upside exposure makes sense to me. But if we can accept above that 2,500 level, right, flip that, then we can trade that up to 29. As I said yesterday, I think if we can't accept in here, we're likely just to build this out. So if we do build out some kind of composite value here, then we may get a clearer setup later in the week or next week. One to watch, because I do think that 2,900 level is imminent, given that we're still in this nice local uptrend. Zcash was a good short yesterday, right? We traded into this 4-week composite low, nice single prints here. So pretty clear absorption going on around this area, also into yearly value high. So good short here. Yeah, I can see this trade lower. I can see this trade lower. So we're back below previous month's VWAP, selling imbalance here that we're rejecting from. It doesn't look like it's anything to long at the moment. Bit of trend compression going on, so kind of points to more chop if anything, but not bullish, right? Not bullish this coin. I'm not expecting this to break 523 and trade higher at the moment. Rolling VWAP's all going sideways. It looks very, very range bound. Perhaps it can ultimately trade into yearly VWAP, but it looks like range is forming somewhere here, right? So we'll see how that develops. But for now, it's a good short. Take some off around monthly. See if you go to monthly val or something. Yeah, that's it. Right, there's not much that's really hugely interesting or in play at the moment. So just about being selective. I think TradFi has been more interesting. Certainly on an intraday basis, we've seen good moves from memory. So yesterday there was a good short. We talked about it, I think, during the stream. Just trading into these singles. Not looking too great, but downside momentum has kind of been lost to some extent. So need to see how this develops. No setup there for now. SK Hynix also a decent short setup, very similar. Gold looks pretty bottomed on the macro, I would say. Certainly trying to bottom. Right, nice rounding out, value breakout. So I'll take a better look at this later. If we can come and retest potentially this multi-week that we formed down here. So what do we have? 1, 2, went up, didn't go anywhere. 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of value here. And then this week we've broken out. So let me mark that up. That should be fine. So can we come back potentially and retrace and retest somewhere around 4150 quarterly value high down to this composite high? Potentially going to be an interesting area to look for a long from if we can get a retracement. Personally, I'm not in a gold position, but it does look quite good in terms of the momentum loss, value, and then the breakout, as I say. So doesn't look bad at all on the higher time frame. I think that's about it for now. So yeah, mostly just want to talk about the sort of bigger picture in terms of BTC. I do think we will continue to trade up. I'm not too interested in day trading it. I'm just going to hold my swing from here and then look to get into a swing short. Around 68, 69k, I think, is going to be the spot. Looking for shorts to really just get blown out, and then for momentum loss, probably a multi-day comp to form, and then hopefully we've got a nice easy short after a couple of attempts to break to the upside, I would imagine. As usual, these things, history often rhymes, so I think that's probably going to be how it plays out. But yeah, catch you later, guys, and hopefully I'll be online a bit more next week. But not a very interesting market at the moment, so a good time certainly not to be too active, I would say. So yeah, catch you later.